Welcome to Awesome Movie Year, the podcast where we look back at an awesome year for movies, which is every year. I'm Josh Bell, film critic and writer, joined by...
I'm Jason Harris, comedian, filmmaker, original gangster.
You are an original gangster. So this is kind of an epilogue to our first season on 1994.
Yeah, we picked 12 movies based on our categories, but because it was such an awesome movie year, we wanted to talk about some of the movies we left out and might cover in Awesome Movie Year Part 2, 1994, the sequel Redux.
Yes, once we do every other year in the history of movies, we're going to return to 1994 and cover some alternate picks.
That's right.
So I think the best way to do this maybe is to just go through our categories and talk about what else we could have talked about in those categories. We started out with the number one movie at the box office, which was The Lion King. And Jason can remind you that I misquoted some statistics. The Lion King was the number one movie worldwide, but Forrest Gump was the number one movie in North America. Some other top 10 box office movies. True Lies, which I like a lot.
Me too. That would have been a fun one to cover.
Yeah. Speed, another very entertaining film.
Sure.
Keanu Reeves having a moment right now.
He is. He's back, baby.
Yes. The Flintstones apparently was a top 10 box office hit. What? I am glad we did not talk about the Flintstones. Dumb and Dumber, to mention Jim Carrey, who we talked about in our audience choice episode.
Yeah, and going forward, we might not choose the one that made the most money, or the one that made the most money might have been also an award winner of some kind. So we might go down the list of it.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, if we had done Forrest Gump, we ended up talking about that as the best picture winner. So we could have come up with an alternative. A little lower down at the box office, Four Weddings and a Funeral, and Interview with the Vampire, which is a movie I really like.
And Four Weddings and a Funeral also nominated for Best Picture and won the BAFTA. And we probably should revisit that film at some point in time.
Yeah, I remember not being a huge fan of that when I saw it.
I didn't like the remake. You remember the remake?
No.
Wasn't it a Chris Rock movie where he remade
No, that's Death at a Funeral.
Nah, so's what I know.
Yeah, which is very little.
See why I have to revisit this one?
Yeah. So next up, we talked about a first feature by a notable filmmaker, and our choice was Kevin Smith's Clerks.
And this was an extreme. There were three that I was personally.
Yeah, I think we went back and forth a lot between.
This was
Clerks.
Tough.
Yeah, Danny Boyle's Shallow Grave.
Yes, which is a good film, not his greatest film, but a good film. And man, he's such an interesting filmmaker. I love Danny Boyle, and I'm always happy to cover it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think Shallow Grave is a really good movie. Sometimes you look at the first movie by a director who went on to do a lot of really great stuff, and the first thing they did is sort of not that interesting or not that notable.
This is an interesting movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the other one I think we talked about a lot was David O. Russell's Spanking the Monkey, another very interesting film.
Crazy movie, was at Sundance that year, an incestuous, messed up relationship between a mother and a son. And that would have also been a worthy contender.
Yeah. Were there any others? I think those were the main ones that we talked about.
Those were the three that we kept coming back to, yes.
Yeah. So we looked at then the Cannes Palme d'Or winner, which was Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction. Some other movies that played in competition at Cannes in 1994 include Adam Egoyan's Exotica, which I've never seen, but is highly acclaimed.
Yeah, he was so interesting. And, we kind of don't hear from Adam Egoyan lately. But,
yeah, he's gone into this weird, straight to video thriller territory.
Right. I would watch Exotica.
Yeah, I love The Sweet Hereafter. I mean, maybe love is the wrong word because that movie is super depressing, but that is a great movie.
Was it Paula Marshall? Was that Exotica? I don't remember.
I'm not sure who was in it, but it's definitely a highly acclaimed film. The Coen Brothers, The Hudsucker Proxy, which is not my favorite Coen Brothers movie.
Yeah, but we did mention that as a potential thing to cover this year for 94 because the Coen Brothers are always doing.
They're great. Yeah. I mean, I do love the Coen Brothers, but I'd probably be more interested in talking about a different Coen's movie, which we may be doing in a future season.
Maybe next season.
Could be.
Stay tuned, listeners.
Also at Cannes, Zhang Yimou's To Live. Obviously, Zhang Yimou is a very important, influential filmmaker. That could have been a good foreign pick for us as well. A personal favorite of mine, Queen Margot, La Reine Margot, which I remember watching in French class. And it's really violent and lots of nudity. And I probably should not have been watching that in school. But I remember my French teacher showing us that movie.
Oui, oui.
Yeah. And something that I think a few people mentioned to us on Facebook, the Krzysztof Kieslowski's Three Colors trilogy.
Yeah, this was Greg Thilmont, the writer, also a food writer in Las Vegas. He wanted us to cover the extremely depressing trilogy, one of which came out in 93.
Yeah, I think Three Colors Blue, which is the only one I've seen, the one with Juliette Binoche.
Yeah.
But Three Colors Red was in competition at Cannes.
Listen, go to film school. You watch them all,
guys. For our flop, we talked about Rob Reiner's North. This was fun to me to look at what else. I don't think we really, amongst ourselves, discussed covering anything else for that episode. But in looking through the list of movies of the year, some other big flops. Steven Seagal's environmental epic On Deadly Ground.
Yes. That would have been a good one.
Yes. We mentioned we mentioned Martin Short in our Mask episode. Martin Short's very ill-fated Clifford. Have you seen that movie?
I did see Clifford, and I had considered this for either the flop or maybe my pick.
Do you like it? Is
no,
it good?
Of course not. But I would have done it because I was really happy with how the Cabin Boy episode turned out.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And Exit to Eden, starring Rosie O'Donnell and Dan Aykroyd as BDSM adventurers.
Dana Delaney, and
Yes.
Really a banner year for Dan Aykroyd between this and North. So.
It really was. Yeah. Have you seen Exit to Eden?
Yeah, of course, man.
Really?
I was a teenager in the 90s, and there was a bunch of naked ladies, and it was a comedy. Why not, man?
It's kind of a little bit of a cult classic, isn't it?
I guess. I've never seen it. Did you like it as a movie?
No, of course not. What are you talking about?
I don't know. Did you have any other potential flops that you want to mention?
I look, this was North all the way. We were going with
Yeah.
North all the way
Yeah.
because it is renowned. So we had to go for
No,
it.
I agree. I think North was the right choice, but any of those other three would have definitely been something to talk about. Our documentary pick was Terry Zweigoff's Crumb, which I thought was a great pick. The one that we mainly talked about was Steve James's Hoop Dreams, which of course is iconic. And really, because we're lazy and it's very long, we decided to go with Crumb instead.
Well, I don't think so. I think one of the other reasons we went with Crumb is because it is it's well known. You know, the Hoop Dreams is a more maybe well known documentary, so we wanted to kind of go under a little. But we liked Hoop Dreams is a great movie. So
yeah, I am not a sports guy, and I remember being a little underwhelmed with Hoop Dreams because I saw it so much later after just hearing about how it was one of the greatest documentaries ever. The Oscar winner for Best Documentary Feature is a movie called Maya Lin, A Strong, Clear Vision, which I have never heard of. And
I don't know about it either.
Yeah. Were there any other documentaries of the year that you thought of?
No, it really came down to Hoop Dreams or Crumb for me.
Yeah, I agree. And I think either one of those would have been a good choice. For my personal pick, I picked Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which I do think was a good choice on my part. So way to go, me.
Good job.
And I think we had a fun discussion. Some of my other personal favorites from that year, Tim Burton's Ed Wood, True Lies, which we talked about just a minute ago, which I think is a lot of fun and maybe a little underrated. Woody Allen's Bullets Over Broadway, which is a very entertaining period piece from Woody Allen. And I kind of have a soft spot for Luc Besson, who, just like Woody Allen, is very problematic, and his movie, The Professional with Natalie Portman.
And I know people wanted us to cover The Professional. That one came up a lot in the piecing it together.
Popcorn and puzzle
pieces.
Yeah, where we posted what movies do you want us to cover. That was one of them, along with Jeremy Vaughn's pick, Three Ninjas Kick Back.
Yes, we can look at some more Facebook suggestions. In a moment, we next talked about our foreign film pick, which was Wong Kar-wai's Chungking Express. He actually had two movies that year. Ashes of Time also came out that year that he made Chungking Express in between production and editing on Ashes of Time. But Chungking Express, definitely the more acclaimed, well-known film. Also from 94, Ang Lee's Eat, Drink, Man, Woman, which is a very good movie.
Right. Do you want to go back to documentary Endless
Okay.
Summer too? Because the Endless Summer was such a big thing in the 60s as a surf movie. And I like
Right.
this. I love surf movies, so I thought
Okay.
Endless Summer 2 might have been.
Have you seen Endless Summer too?
No.
Okay.
So that's
that was a great story. I've never seen either of those, even the original one. I kind of am bored with surf movies. I'm glad we didn't talk about that one.
well, good. We didn't do it, so
All
don't worry
right.
about it, bro.
Other foreign films, Il Postino, The Postman, the Italian film about Pablo Neruda, which was highly acclaimed. And then I previously mentioned my seminal coming of age experience watching Queen Margot, and then the Three Colors films as well.
Yeah, the Three Colors would have been really interesting, especially if they were all released in that year.
Yeah, only red and white came out that year. Blue came out in the previous year. Any other foreign films that you thought of?
No, I was, we scoured.
We did.
We scoured. So I will say this:
yes.
Going forward, we're with foreign films, we're going to really kind of go after some really strange subgenres. I think some of these more out there picks from Japan or wherever that is.
Yes,
so.
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, without going too obscure.
Yeah, but we're not going to go. We're not going to always pick like the most popular or the biggest award.
Right.
Yeah. Some
yeah.
things.
The Oscars often, like with documentary, they often pick something that's really not all that interesting. We talked about the Sundance Grand Jury winner, Tom
Wait,
Noonan's.
you skipped my pick, man.
Oh, you're right, because I totally didn't write alternate choices for it because it's all you. Please.
Yeah. Well,
Jason, I am sorry.
Yeah. Cabin Boy, I think is a worthy pick still to this day. But some of the others I had D2 The Mighty Ducks, a classic film. And I stand by that. And then Heavenly Creatures from Peter Jackson.
I love Heavenly Creatures. That's a great movie.
So that was one of mine. And I really struggled with us not covering The Shawshank Redemption this season because I think that's such a brilliant film. Quiz Show is a great film also, I'm forgetting whatever the last one was. I know it was Four Weddings and a Funeral.
Yeah. I have those down, the other Best Picture nominees. Yeah.
What was the last one?
Pulp Fiction, which we did talk about.
Covered. Yeah. So yeah, it would have been Shawshank for me. I really did want to cover that. But that's okay. Natural Born Killers, that was a thing. And Swimming with Sharks, which is Frank Whaley film with Kevin Spacey.
We're going to talk about all sorts of problematic people.
Yeah, but it's basically about a guy who's fed up with his job in the film industry and kidnaps his boss. So that was an interesting.
Yeah,
movie.
I remember when you first, I think that was initially going to be the one that we were going to go with. And I was intrigued to watch that. And maybe I still will.
Yeah, I'd be down to watch it again. But in the end, nothing beats Cabin Boy.
Cabin. We had a lot of fun talking about Cabin Boy. I think that was a good choice. So Sundance, we talked about Tom Noonan's What Happened Was, which won the Grand Jury Award. And we've kind of talked about this already. Other movies at Sundance, David O. Russell's Spanking the Monkey, which won the Audience Award. Fresh, Kevin Smith's Clerks, and Hoop Dreams also played at Sundance.
Yeah, Fresh was an award winner there as well. With Kevin Smith, they won like whatever some filmmakers trophy.
Yeah. And those are all, of course, interesting movies. And we did talk about Clerks, but I like that we went with What Happened Was. Not only because it was the winner, but also it's a movie that people haven't heard much about.
I agree. And I'm also glad that we covered Clerks because Clerks really does hold up in a great way.
Yeah, Clerks was a lot of fun to talk about.
And then we mentioned the Best Picture nods.
Yeah, the Best Picture nods were Four Weddings and a Funeral, Pulp Fiction, Quiz Show, and The Shawshank Redemption. I've never seen Quiz Show.
Quiz Show's great. Robert Redford film, Rob Morrow and John Turturro. John Turturro is just so awesome, man. That is a great film about the quiz show scandal, right?
Right.
The game show scandal of the 1950s. I forget. There's a really good, whoever put is it Ralph Fiennes' dad in that movie?
I don't know. Ralph Fiennes is in that movie.
Yeah. So whoever plays his dad is really awesome too.
Okay.
Man, I forget, but that was
not Ralph Fiennes' actual dad.
No, the character.
Oh, okay.
The Van Buren. I think it was Van Buren.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't seen it, but
Dave, did you have anything we wanted to cover?
Like personally?
Yeah.
Well, I think Clerks would probably be my favorite movie of the year, but I was thinking about it, and two movies that specifically stood out to me were Natural Born Killers and The Crow, specifically because of the soundtracks. I could talk about those soundtracks like all day. I mean, I'm a musician also, and my music is incredibly inspired by the music that was on those two soundtracks growing up.
The Crow I did have down as a possible cult classic.
Yeah, and that's the last category that we haven't gotten to yet. And I'm with Dave, like those soundtracks, especially The Crow. I still have the CD of the Crow soundtrack at home.
And we were the perfect age at that point too, for that music.
Yeah, it was all the right. So I also have the Crow City of Angels soundtrack at home.
Nice.
But yeah, the Natural Born Killers with Trent Reznor. That was, amazing. Great music. And I think I haven't seen either of those movies since they were released, but I've listened to the music many times.
Too.
Yeah. There were a million possible choices for cult classic. Two that I had been kind of pushing were John Waters' Serial Mom and the Christmas comedy The Ref, starring Dennis Leary, which I'm not a big fan of, but definitely has become a weirdly like seminal holiday movie.
Those were the final three that we.
Yeah, those were our final choices, and I think we made a good choice.
Yeah, and Dave also wanted Airheads.
Yes, of course.
As a cult classic?
Yes.
Yeah, I
loved Airheads.
I also have the Airheads soundtrack on CD at home.
And one that on the Facebook group people were talking about constantly was In the Mouth of Madness.
Oh, really? That's interesting. Yeah, I do like that movie. I remember seeing that in theater. I'm a big John Carpenter fan. That's a good one. What else did we have on Facebook, Dave?
Also there was Serial Mom and Wolf from Adam Wells. James Becker brought up The Professional. More votes for Heavenly Creatures. What else do we have here?
Matt Markman, comedian friend of mine, wanted Color of Night because, as he said, Bruce Willis's penis owns that thing.
Yeah, that was a kind of weirdly controversial thing, I remember at the time.
I didn't know this one, but Jason seems to. My Father, the Hero is recommended by Adam Wells.
Yeah, the Gerard Depardieu. That was Katherine Heigl's breakout role.
He's isn't he in trouble too, Gerard Depardieu?
Yeah, he is. So many problematic dudes making movies in 1994.
Like Gerard Depardieu is French, man. You know, he's getting.
It's no excuse.
No, but I don't even know what he did. I just know, like, they're like, in trouble, Gerard Depardieu, and I'm like, Bruce Willis steals the show. He said, "Hey, you know one movie that was talked about a lot, and I was going to put it as possibly my pick. I don't love the movie, but I love the genre. Was Reality Bites.
Yeah, people did mention that a lot. I think on Facebook.
And people really like that movie.
Yeah, that is a very influential movie, and I liked it when I saw it, but it's been a long time.
I liked it too. It's the mainstream version of the indie comedies of, hey, we're 20-somethings, now what do we do with our lives?
Right.
And I love those movies.
Yeah.
And there are some really great ones in the 90s that maybe we'll get to.
Yeah, kind of a counterpoint to Clerks in a way, maybe.
Right, where they're doing nothing.
Right, exactly. So 1994 was an awesome movie year, wasn't it?
Hey, we finally figured it out.
So that's kind of a look at what could have been on this season of Awesome Movie Year. Check us out on social media.
Well, yes, you can check us out on social media. We are at Awesome Movie Year on Facebook and Instagram, Awesome Movie Pod on Twitter, awesomemovieyear.com. I'm still Jason Harris Comedy on Facebook and Instagram, J Harris Comedy on Twitter, and goforjason.com.
You know, you don't have to rush through it every time. It's important. People are writing this down. You can find me at joshbellhateseverything.com, at Josh Bell Hates Everything on Facebook, and at Signal Bleed on Twitter. And our awesome producer, David Rosen, who's done so many things for us this season, we would be totally lost without.
Except watch the movies.
But really, he spent so much time doing so many technical things that we don't understand. We can forgive him for that. And also hosting his Piecing It Together podcast.
Yeah, which you can find wherever you're listening to this. And you can find us at piecingpod.com, on Twitter at piecingpod, Facebook Piecing It Together podcast, and of course our Facebook group Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces.
And what's happening next season, Jason?
Well, next season, it was actually your first choice for an Awesome Movie Year.
It was. I think that was something that we talked about early on.
Yeah. So we are going to do 2007.
Which is often cited as like the best year for movies of the last maybe 15 to 20 years.
That's what I always say.
And why do you think that is?
I think it's because there were a lot of good movies that were released in that year.
Thank you for. Now I know why you write for.
I
movie
mean,
reviews.
just off the top of my head, I'd have to guess that that's the case. And maybe we'll talk about some of them in our
look,
season.
we can definitely say you can look up the Best Picture winner. We can tell you what that is. That's No Country for Old Men. So
Yeah.
we know that.
Yeah.
We can offer our audience choice poll because we need people to vote for that.
Yeah.
And we have decided again, kind of like 94, where someone exploded onto the comedy scene. We're doing the 2007 version of that. Only this time it is not an actor. It is a director producer
Yeah.
named Judd Apatow. Because in 2007, he had Knocked Up, the film that he directed, and then 2 films that he produced come out. Superbad and Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox Story.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that stuff and a bunch of other cool, interesting stuff.
Damn, that is a hard pick. Those are 3 great movies.
So we'll see. Hopefully we'll put that up soon on the social media and people can vote for that, and look forward to hearing everything else we talk about
And
in that next season.
Let us know what you want us to cover for 2007, and we will try to do it.
We'll do our best. We'll definitely not talk about a Three Ninjas movie though.
I'm definitely excited for some of them. I know we have a great first feature. We have a great cult classic. So we're gonna be in good shape for this season.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. Thank you everyone for listening to this season. We really appreciate all the feedback and the listening of the podcast. I don't know how I'm just still speaking.
This has been an awesome movie year. That is over. Roll credits.
Thank you for listening to Awesome Movie Year. Make sure to follow Awesome Movie Year on Facebook, at Awesome Movie Pod on Twitter, and at Awesome Movie Year on Instagram. And if you like the show, review us and rate us with 5 stars on Apple Podcasts.
And all points west.